Okay. My name is Linda Williams, and the stage that we'll be doing is the working stage, and the model will be the Aldrin therapy model. This group bases on the focus of stress and the behaviors they learn as children to handle that stress. And now we are about to start. Good evening, everyone. How you all doing today?
I'm okay.
Doing all right.
Okay. So Blair and Sophie, I know that our last group last week in the afternoon we spoke about basically the birth order and how the birth order y'all grew up as children affected you all with dealing with stress. So y'all want to just bring up some good points y'all learned today.
I think I just realized that, being like the youngest child, like everyone felt like they had to protect me. Because, like, especially when I was younger, a lot of stressful things happened, but everyone was like, oh, she's too little, like she can't know. So, like, a lot of things were hidden from me. And then I didn't know till later, which explains so much more about my family in general and how we handle stuff, and then how I handle stuff. So I think it just helped me, like, better understand, like, my family and stuff.
For me, being the oldest child, it seemed like I had to take on a lot of responsibilities. So it was my parents, if they were already overwhelmed, then those duties would get pushed on me. And on top of that, with my two younger siblings, I had to take care of them also. So with what you taught us last week and what we learned, that kind of helped me to understand why I take on more responsibilities than I can really handle.
Okay. So I hear both of you saying that the behaviors y'all learned as a child really wasn't helpful, and with you, Blair, that you wish your parents did not shield you for so much because it could have helped you now in college. And with you, Sophie, that you had to take on too much responsibility and having to balance all that is now affecting you in college.
Mm-hmm.
So before we start our group activity today, I just want to let y'all know about the group goals and rules, just so you all remember everything. As in, we'll be respectful to everyone's opinions, and we'll also give each person a chance to talk. The goals in this group is self-reflection and also just accepting and understanding your behaviors. Okay. So for our activity tonight, well, this afternoon tonight, what we'll be doing is basically each one of you will act as yourself as a child based on an experience you all had that is a focal point on how you handle stress, and the other person will act as the parent. Of course, that person will tell us which parent they will be, and then at the end, you'll only give one sentence of apologizing to them.
Okay.
Does that make sense, everyone?
Mm-hmm.
So who wants to go first?
I can go first. So I'll act as myself as a high school aged child, and maybe like middle school also. And if you'll be my mom, that would be good.
Yeah.
So Mom, I know when I was in 8th grade, you were really struggling and you lost your job. And as a result of that, a lot of the responsibilities got pushed on me. And at that time, we were going to lose our house because you had lost your job. And I don't think you really ever understood the amount of responsibilities that I had to assume, especially with Johnny and Jimmy and me having to look after them. And it didn't really feel like you ever understood how much I really was having to do for the family. Should I move toward like high school now of another occurrence? Or?
Do you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. So in high school, when you and Dad were going through the divorce, which was another huge part of me having to take on more responsibility as the oldest child, it seemed like a lot of the times you were more worried about finding another man and kind of searching for a partner and someone else to support the family instead of maybe focusing on your children. So at that time, I had to really, take on another job. I was already working as a babysitter, and then I had to work at the restaurant, and just taking on those responsibilities, it was just too much for me. It was just too much.
hear you, and I'm sorry for the stress that I put on your shoulders.
Thank you.
So, do y'all want to take a moment to reflect on it? Do you want to give her any type of advice after hearing what you heard?
It sounds like you've been through so much in your life, and it sounds like you've had to be such a strong person that now you might still feel like you need to be a strong person for the people in your life. But I think the person you need to be there for the most is yourself, first and foremost, so that way you can take care of yourself, just like how you take such good care of other people. But I just heard so much strength in like your story and what you were saying, and I could also hear the distress that it caused you then and that it's causing you now.
I think that really explains kind of how I'm feeling now, and then how I felt, as a teenager as well. So that helps me to kind of understand maybe why I am taking on so much stress with school now and failing at school and not really, putting my best foot forward because I'm taking on too many responsibilities. So that was really helpful for me.
Okay. So, what steps you think you can do now to change your behaviors? So, as in, what can you do differently to help with school and stress?
I think maybe just remember to take time away from school, kind of planning out my week as best I can. I think that might help, and just setting aside time, not studying, not stressing about the next assignment that's coming up, and just trying to do things that are for me, because I never really did that. So I think that might help.
For sure.
Okay. And I think that would help a lot. This is more than you shared last week, and we are getting somewhere. You saying you putting yourself first is a good step, and something that needs to be done to help with your stress.
Yeah. It feels really good to say that, and just kind of to have you all, hear that also. So thank you.
You're welcome. You ready, Blair?
Yes. So, you're going to be my mom, and I'm going to be around middle school, elementary school age. Well, it will be elementary school age for this first one. And so can I just go ahead and start? So, Mom, when I was younger and you decided to go work at the middle school because you wanted to be on the same schedule as me and my sister, I was excited because you were excited and you got to come watch us play ball, and you got off work when we got off school. I just always saw the good. You had the same breaks as us, and everything seemed to be going well. However, I've learned recently that was like, once you took that job and that pay cut, money was so tight, and we really didn't have enough to get through. And there were several times that you almost asked Grammy and Grandpa for a loan, that you were so stressed that we weren't going to make it and you weren't going to make payments. And so now as I'm older, like, I feel like there's times where I get so flustered because you feel, or you never like showed me how stressed you were, and you didn't teach me how to deal with stress. It's like you shielded me too much, to where now it just completely freaks me out, and I like break down instead of dealing with the stress and having like good coping mechanisms. I just don't deal with it. I shut down and I like can't move forward in my life. And so that's one of the situations. And then as far as like, dealing with like life stressors, and then another time is like with death. Like, you never like showed your emotions to me, like when we lost Grammy and Grandpa, or when we lost Dad's parents either. Like, you just shielded us so much, me and Mary Kate, from like the grief and the stress, and you didn't teach us how to deal with it. And now as an adult, when I'm losing people in my life, like I said before, it's like my whole world just like shuts down because I can't process it, because you didn't show me that it's okay to grieve. You just kind of kept it all together and made everything look perfect. And then now I feel like I'm wrong or a mess up because I'm feeling all these big emotions, but I didn't see you have those big emotions. So I feel like I'm wrong in some way for like struggling more. But the truth is that you struggled too. I just never saw it.
I'm sorry. I should have been a better mother and not guarded you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So how did it feel sharing it out to the group?
It felt weird because, like, I feel bad for, like, critiquing my mom about how she raised me. And, of course, like, all parents have good intentions, but it's impacted me negatively in my adult life. But it felt good to finally, like, say it all out loud. And I think practicing with you, Sophie, like, I feel like I could talk with her about it and have that kind of conversation to be like, I see this in me, and also let her know, like, she doesn't have to keep it together all the time. Because, like, as far as it not being helpful to me and later on in my life, I know it's not helpful to her either, or like our family as a whole.
Okay. Did you have any pointers you want to give to her?
I would say, I think if you take what you said to me just now, acting as your mom to her, you as an adult reflecting back, I think she might, have an understanding of where you're coming from. And I think, you just practice what you wanted to say. And I think you kind of know where you want to go with that conversation. So I would encourage you to do that if you feel like it.
Thank you. That makes me feel good about that, because I was, like, nervous about talking to my mom about that, but I think I could now that I've practiced.
Okay. So what can you do differently now? What can you do to change your behaviors for college?
For college, like I said, when stress happens, or like when like a big event happens, like obviously life is happening outside of college. So like big events like deaths or like big stressors, like to not shove down my feelings or like shame myself for those feelings, because it's natural, and just like figuring out that it's okay to feel them and process them and acknowledge them. It's because when I don't acknowledge them, that's when I fall apart. But if I can like talk about it, and then I feel better, and then I can like create coping mechanisms for it instead of just ignoring it, because you're not ever really ignoring it because it's still there. So I think that this will help me in college to like work through my stressors instead of just shutting down completely.
So stressors, and you said coping. So have you thought of any coping mechanisms you wanted to use?
I think, talking about all this stuff has been so helpful. So I think that maybe like writing everything down to just like get it all out and just to like see it on a page might be helpful for me. Because like just talking about stuff that I've never said to my mom before, it's just been so helpful in like the last 5 minutes. So I think that writing it down might be something I could do so I can like process it better.
Okay. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I was going to say it's really helpful to understand kind of how my birth order affects different areas of my life. And that's something that I've learned from learning this therapy model in this group, is that it just affects multiple things, such as stress, or like we talked about last week, the other topics. So it's not just the life event but it's the birth order that really affects that too.
I agree. It made me understand my family in a whole new different light.
Okay. Well, y'all both have been shareable a lot. I'm sad that the other group members weren't able to come, but it's okay. So I believe we have a few more minutes left. So what I like to do is basically an experiment and to see how y'all will respond with stress. Because right now y'all both on academic probation, and in order for the school to let y'all back in, they want to make sure that you all can continue to cope with everything that's going on. So Sophie, I know you have a job right now, and say your manager asks you, can you stay over another 5 hours even though you have a paper to do, and you also the next morning have a new interview for an internship? How will you respond to him?
It would be really difficult because I'm used to saying yes and assuming whatever's thrown at me, but I think I would have to say no. And I think I would have to just tell him I can't stay, I have to go, I have other obligations, and school is important to me. And I think it would feel really good to say no. I don't know if that's something we could practice maybe in the upcoming groups, is kind of saying no. But yeah, that's probably what I would do.
And that's a change in your behavior, because you wasn't saying no when you was in high school, in middle school, when you was being that elder sibling. You was being independent. You was helping your family.
Right.
You was being the other mother, like you just stated.
Yes.
So the same question I gave her, how would you handle that as well?
So, if I was asked to work 5 hours, like past the time that I stopped,
Mhm.
so I think like old me or like the usual me would probably like freak out, like go in the bathroom and like kind of maybe even have like a panic attack. But I think that like if I could sit there and maybe even like type out on my phone like what I'm feeling and kind of like process it, maybe I could, you know, explain or like compromise with my boss about maybe doing less time, you know, and you know, taking a note from Sophie, taking time for myself, but also like keeping my obligation to my job, you know, just working through that and realizing that it's just a moment instead of this like life halting event, that I can move past it, and also like work with others in order to move through that moment of stress.
Okay. Well, good job, Sophie and Blair. I'm very proud of how far y'all have came from last week. Next week, what y'all want you both to prepare for me is basically a letter. And this letter will be meant for the parent that y'all just shared about. And in that letter, you'll state how you feel and basically what you all just shared with me today. And you will read the letter out and also give that letter to your parent. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, I think that'd be really helpful.
Okay. Well, I will see you all next session.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.